Good. Hello. Hello. Welcome to Eden Hope Academy. I'm Kim.
And I'm Anna.
And we are on week 15. Woohoo! That's so cool. All right, so let's start out with our Bible verse. It is, wiggle your books. It is, the depth of the riches of the wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable his judgment and his paths beyond tracing out. That means that God is so big. God is so unimaginably big, so much higher than us. And to think of his glory and his majesty is just something that we could think on forever. So down below here it says, draw a picture of you seeking God, of you trying to learn more about God. So can you draw a picture right there? All right, can you beep us?
Beep.
Beep. Okay, are they back? Are they back? Bye guys. Okay, cool. Okay, maybe they're not back. They back? Okay. All right. Let's go to history. Can you throw up history, Anna? The world is turning a new page. We are in the information age. So now we're in the 1970s and the 1980s. Wow, I was a teenager in the 1980s. That's pretty scary. That was a long time ago. Oh my goodness gracious. All right. Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs created Apple computers in their garage. IBM and Microsoft stepped in to compete. No one has been defeated. Sony's Walkman made music portable. Floppy disks made file storage affordable. The world is turning a new page. We are in the information age. All right, so here, ask your parents about the types of technologies that were new when they were your age. Draw a picture of your parents with the technology they use. So you're going to do that right here. Now, when I was your age, computers didn't exist. So there was no internet. There were no personal computers. There were no iPhones. There were no cell phones. The only people who had cell phones were I don't think anyone had cell phones until late 1980s. And then it was in their car and it was called a car phone. And they were ginormous. They were huge. And they just made calls, nothing else. So when I was your age, you could just probably ride a bicycle or something because there just wasn't anything. But the Walkman came out when I was your age, so maybe a Walkman.
Or you could just draw a picture of someone walking.
No, you don't know what a Walkman is, do you? A Walkman is this little guy that big, so maybe 5 times an iPhone. And then you put it on your belt, and then you put on earphones, and then you could listen to one tape at a time. That was called a Walkman. And let me tell you, they were cool. If you had a Walkman, you were something else. You were like, woohoo, look at me. Okay, let's go to Hero Highlight. And we have Martha Kilpatrick, who runs Shulamite Ministries. And I love to listen to Martha Kilpatrick. She's one of my favorite authors, and she's just this amazing woman who speaks the truth of God in ways that just enlighten me and tell me more about God and who he is. And one of my favorite quotes of hers, I've got 2 that are my favorite, and one is, I want to be so dependent on God that I'm independent of the world, which maybe you've heard me say that before. Really? Once or twice. And my second quote is, evil only bows to authority. And those are my 2 I've got lots of favorite quotes of hers, but those are my top 2 favorite quotes of hers. And your mom should definitely look her up because she is an amazing writer. Okay, so it says, sometimes we act like God is a bit under us. We want him to do what we want him to do, and we make demands on him. Now, is God a little under us?
He's a lot over us.
A lot over us, not even exponentially. They can't even imagine it over us. God is so glorious and so big that we can't imagine it. But sometimes we kind of get an attitude, which is really blasphemy. And so we need to be careful not to do that. Okay, the truth is God is much bigger, unlike us. He is incomprehensible to us. Sometimes we forget how great our God is, and we make ourselves mini gods. Making ourselves mini gods is when we are not in awe of God, or we act like we're better than God, or we know better. So sometimes people will say, oh, I know that's in the Bible, but things have changed. Have things changed?
No.
No, if it's in the Bible, that's what God meant. And when we try to change it, or we say, oh, but I'm being more compassionate, or I'm being more loving, that's not being more loving, because we know that the God of the universe, the God whom we believe in, defines love. He is love. And so if he says something, that means it is truth. It is love. And we need to really keep that in mind. All right, so why don't you go over these with your mom? How can you make sure that you're not a mini God? What are ways that you can renew your relationship with God? Like one of the things that I've learned in this last year is worshiping God, singing praises to him, just ushers in a relationship with God that I didn't really know about. And so just singing praises to God by yourself before your morning prayer time, that is so valuable. And then do you read your Bible? So talk to your mom about those, and let's go on. All right. Ooh, guess what we're doing this week? We are doing fingerprints. We're doing forensic science. Shh. Fingerprints. We can do pinky prints. Pinky prints. Okay, so let's go on. Forensic science. When crimes are committed, sometimes we admit it. The police can't make sense of the clues. We turn to forensics. The methods are exquisite, but that's what we need to get expensive. But that's what we need to give to the case some juice. We scan for fingerprints, check our data for a match, then check pathology for diseases we can catch. Toxology finds poisons and drugs, or we can do an autopsy on the dead bed bugs. But the biggest giveaways is your old DNA. The forensic science crew comes in to save the day. Now remember, DNA! Remember that? Double helix, DNA! And we did that a few weeks ago, and remember that every single one of our DNA is unique. So even though we look alike, I completely have a different DNA from you. And guess when that DNA is formed?
When?
At conception. It is formed. So a person is a person as soon as their DNA is formed, which is at conception. Pretty cool, huh? Because how would a police officer or a forensic scientist tell the difference between a person? They would look at their DNA and they would say, that's unique. And if that's unique to the person, that is a unique qualifier of the person, that means it's a unique person from the very beginning that God creates you. It's so cool. So definitely cool. Okay. Oh my goodness gracious. I don't know what happened with these. So let's do it again. We found another mistake. We don't want to make an Apollo spaceship there. We want to do a picture of you being a forensic scientist. And what would you do to be a forensic scientist? So maybe you're going to look at people's DNA on computers, or maybe you're going to examine things with a magnifying glass, or take pictures or something like that. So draw a picture of you doing that, and we need to figure out what we did wrong. All right, and finally, what about that?
Where's the picture?
Oh, that's okay. Okay, so this is a picture. Do you guys see this picture? This is a picture of actually a really fancy dancy computer. When I was a kid, when I was about in the 4th or 5th grade, my grandfather got one of the very first personal computers, and guess what it came in? It didn't have one of these fancy plastic boxes. It had a wooden box that went with it, and then it had a keyboard, and then it had like a monitor with it. So it's really, really primitive. And I'm telling you guys how old I am by saying this. Okay, and finally, can you throw this up? Geography. Mother Teresa and her missionaries of charity sought to treat and heal those who were orphaned, sick, and treated unfairly. Working in Calcutta, India in 1979, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for all the good she did in her life. Now, this was a woman who was Serbian. She was fairly wealthy, and she went to India, and she realized that Indian people had the caste system. Does that mean they broke their arms?
No.
No. That means that they have different layers. And everyone pretty much stayed in their layer. So if you were from the doctor caste and you had a child, what would they become?
Doctors.
A doctor. If you were from a like a military caste or like a politician cast, what would your child become?
A politician.
Yeah, pretty much. You pretty much stayed in with what your family did. It was kind of like the family business. So you could switch around a little bit as long as it was a similar caste, but you couldn't go outside of your caste ever. So the lower castes, some were called the untouchables. And these untouchable people were people that would, they're not allowed to work. They have to beg for money. They have to get money, or they have to get food out of trash cans. They're never given jobs. They're never given opportunities. And that's generation after generation after generation. And then you had people who were called the unseeables. And those are people who you're not even supposed to see. And so they would just do things at night in India. And this broke Mother Teresa's heart, because the untouchables and the unseeables, no one helped them. No one brought them to the doctors. No one cared for them. And so she would take in people who were hurt or weak or sick, and she would personally care for them. And she cared for so many thousands of people that around India she just became known as Mother, and everyone knew her as Mother. And we have a friend who's from India, and he would talk about her and he would say, well, Mother did this and Mother did that, and everyone knew from India that she was just Mother. So she was an amazing person of God. So we're gonna learn about India. So remember, India is a subcontinent. Can you say subcontinent? A subcontinent of Asia, and it's below China, and it's right here. And so can you make a dot on there? Put your finger on there. Beep, 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 right there.
Right there.
Beep, 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 right there. So just put a dot right there. You guys did a great job. Thank you, Anna. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.